My next guest has a lot to say about Huawei. 5 years before Apple introduced the iPhone, Research in Motion invented one of the world's first smartphones, the BlackBerry. Jim Balsillie was the co-founder of RIM and now runs CG, the Centre for International Governance Innovation. So should Canada be taking a tougher stance on Huawei, do you think?
Yeah, that's a fair question, Wendy. I think the core of the key issue here is one of trust. Whoever provides the core network technology has a lot of power, so you have to trust that they're going to use that in ways you want. As a bit of a background, when I was running RIM, I had security clearance dealing with these kinds of issues of cyber attacks and terrorism and crime within the Five Eyes, and I would tell you that there's a lot more dangerous attacks and issues going out there that the public knows. So these are issues you have to take very, very seriously. And I think we should listen very carefully to those that are cautioning us to be careful. So I don't think there's any good reason why we're not taking these things more seriously at the political level.
The Chinese government spies on its own people. Are you seriously concerned that the Chinese government would spy on Canadians through its involvement in our 5G system?
If all the experts are saying one thing and all our allies are saying the same thing, we should ask ourselves, why are we an outlier? And then when you start look at other very core issues of the digital system of Canada, you'll see that we have this consistent outlier approach in managing for the public interest on these issues.
Why are we an outlier?
Well, I think it's irresponsibility. I think it's an aversion to bringing in experts. I think it's excessive coziness to foreign firms. So we're losing the sovereignty of the country by not paying attention to these things. And I've not seen another developed nation treat these issues with such a cavalier approach.
The concerns expressed about Huawei is that basically we're allowing a part of the Chinese state to surveil Canadian systems. What is the actual concern about Huawei being involved in a Canadian telecom system?
Well, when you supply when the vendor of the system has a lot of power, so you have to trust that vendor because they can abuse that power. It's, in a sense, a metaphor would be a boarder in your home that's going to be there when you're not there.
You're not just concerned about government inaction here. You have another concern about Huawei's influence over the universities. And we've dug out some stats. Let's take a look. Huawei has poured hundreds of millions of dollars into R&D here. Since 2010, they've spent $488 million on research and development. Huawei says around 10% of that goes directly to Canadian universities. That's $48 million since 2010. Huawei also employs more than 500 people here at universities and research centers, and it's filed more than 1,200 patent applications, intellectual property that now belongs to a foreign company. So what sort of an impact does it have that Canadian tax dollars are going towards companies like Huawei who are investing in research at our universities, and then the intellectual property goes somewhere else?
Yeah.
What's wrong with that?
Well, the U.S. National Bureau of Economic Research had a recent report that says patents are the best indicator of a country's innovation performance.
And how is Canada doing?
In the last 3 years of the 152 member countries of the patent treaty, we're last place.
We're in last place.
By a long shot.
Because?
We have no policy focus on accumulating these assets for the benefit of the economy.
And then a company like Huawei comes along and says, okay, we'll invest and then we'll help develop.
We gave Canadian taxpayers for 30 years funded the best AI, the most fundable AI. We basically gave it all to Google, who thanks us and says it's all in their products. So we're making the second most valuable company in the world, worth almost $1 trillion. We're putting $100 billion on their market value to no benefit back to Canada. So this is not a Huawei problem. It's a domestic policy problem. That's what I mean by the irresponsibility on these digital issues. It's consistent. On universities, we partner with Facebook for election integrity. We partner with Google and give them our AI and our cities. We partner with Huawei on national security and telecommunications. it's a broad set of intentions.
If you talk to some of the professors and researchers at the universities, they're very happy to get the investment from Huawei.
Of course they are, but they're also very happy to have 95% of it funded by the Canadian taxpayer too. But why does Huawei get all the benefit? That's my point. Why are we last place in 152 countries in the world by a long shot in the last 3 years?
Why are we?
Because we don't attend to these.
But why don't we?
Okay, good. Why don't we? Because we have outdated thinking. We have this aversion to experts. We have far too much coziness with these firms through government relations people. Amazon had 199 meetings in the past year with the Prime Minister's office. Like this intimacy is something you don't see anywhere else in the world.
So you're worried?
I'm extraordinarily concerned. And the reason I'm principally concerned is that we have all the power to reverse this. Like as much as if we put proper attention to our performance on these global patents, in 1 year, we could be in the top 5 in the world in performance reversal. So these can all be fixed. We have all the ability in the world to perform extremely well in these digital economies and protect the national personal autonomy and protect our security. But we have to begin governing for the public interest and involving experts in a way that we create proper national strategies, just like every other country in the world does.
So much to think about here. Thank you so much for talking to me.
It's a real pleasure, Wendy. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.